And for more on the end of the ceasefire, the resumption of military operations, and what it means for the people of Israel, I am joined now by the spokesperson for the Office of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Tal Heinrich. Tal, more than 100 hostages have been released as a result of those ceasefires. Certainly a tremendous accomplishment. But now what's next?
I just want to speak for a moment about what we just saw, because I'm also following, as Sarah is following, the red alert sirens going off in Israel, which is an insane situation. And people tend to forget. Your coverage has been fantastic, noting that Israeli cities and towns have been targeted with more than 11,000 rockets since the beginning of the war. But Tom, very often when I go to studios, I get asked, what about a permanent ceasefire? When will this war end? This is why we're operating. Israelis can no longer live with this situation, with this security threat. We will not go back to, the reality that predated the October 7th massacre. When we have rockets targeting our communities, when we have this threat that they say that they will perpetrate this massacre for a second, a third, a fourth time.
Right.
And again, to your question regarding the hostages, we still have around 130, 140 hostages. We saw 7 groups being released, and then Hamas broke the agreement, broke the outline. We said that for every 10 extra hostages that they would release, we would agree for another day of humanitarian pause in the fighting. They failed to deliver us the list for the next day. And not only that, they also started firing at our forces.
Right. Now, Secretary Blinken was in Israel on Thursday. He had some comments in terms of what comes next and the posture that Israel should take. Listen to this.
It's imperative that Israel act in accordance with international humanitarian law and the laws of war, even when confronting a terrorist group that respects neither. In my meetings today with the Prime Minister and senior Israeli officials, I made clear that before Israel resumes major military operations, it must put in place humanitarian civilian protection plans that minimize further casualties of innocent Palestinians.
Tal, why do they keep doing this? Why this public finger wagging by the Biden administration and doing it very publicly, almost equating what Israel is doing with the terrorists who butcher and rape and murder at will? Why do we keep hearing this?
I don't think equating is the right word. I think Washington has been demonstrating moral clarity since October 7th, full stop. And there's no daylight right now between Washington and Jerusalem. And it's important to understand in what pertains to the goals of what's happening right now on the ground in Gaza. The Biden administration understands, they say it openly, that Hamas can also be no longer. That's what we're saying. Hamas must be gone. We're not in it to degrade them, tear them, contain them. Tom, we've tried that in the past, over 16 years. This is not going to work. Hamas can simply be no longer. Now, Gaza also has to be demilitarized. We don't want to have a situation in which Hamas or a different terror group can retain such capabilities, and that these terrorists will be able to hurt us again as they did.
We know that the president has repeatedly pushed for ceasefires. And over the hostages, we still have hostages there. Is there a concern, though, that while the Israeli military wants to continue this operation, that there'll be more pressure from the White House for additional ceasefires here that could ultimately accrue a benefit to Hamas?
You see, just like the White House, Israel does not want to see any Palestinian civilian casualties. We are very interested in reducing the suffering of the civilian population there. Hamas has been holding hostage not only our people, but in a sense, they also hijacked the innocent civilian population of Gaza. We know that not everyone in Gaza is supporting them. It's right. Maybe they don't love us, but they also don't have many good, warm words to say about Hamas and how they have been conducting and handling the situation in the Gaza Strip. So Secretary Blinken, in the soundbite that you just played, he mentioned plans as we move forward to in progressing in the operation on the ground, and we actually showed him such plans. I don't know if your producers have this picture of the map in which we divided the Gaza Strip, the whole Gaza Strip, into areas with numbers, and we actually tell the civilians of Gaza where exactly to which area we want them to evacuate when needed. What kind of military does that?
But
The most moral in the world.
But Tal, wouldn't it be nice if the White House said, you know, the Israelis are really doing everything that they possibly can to be surgical and targeted and to give the Gazan civilians an opportunity to escape and not using them as shields? Is that something that you would like to hear more forcefully? Because we continue to hear again this idea almost that Israel isn't doing enough and they need to kind of hold back.
I think that every person on this planet with good conscience who has been following the news over the past 7-8 weeks knows that Israel is doing the maximum effort humanly possible to safeguard the civilian population in Gaza. What kind of military, Tom, announces where it's going to enter and when, and calls on the population there to evacuate? We urge them. We want them to heed our advice, even though if Hamas is telling them stay put, don't move, because they want to use civilians as human shields. This is what we're doing because we have moral clarity on our side.
Yeah. All right, Tal Heinrich, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for coming in. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.